There's a place within you deeper than thought, deeper than emotion, where the noise of the world cannot enter. Few ever find it. Fewer still dare to stay there. But every great empire, every revolution of destiny begins in this silent chamber. I call it the chamber of clarity. It is not built of stone or steel. It has no door you can touch, no lock you can turn. It exists only when you command it to. And yet it is the most powerful room you will ever enter. You see, the mind cannot command the world if it is clouded by noise. Confusion is the assassin of great decisions. Distraction is the silent thief of destiny. And most men wander through life intoxicated by both chasing shadows, mistaking movement for progress, activity for achievement. The elite achiever knows better. He knows that before any great move is made, before any decisive leap is taken, the mind must be stripped bare of illusions. The fog must be burned away. The voices of fear, of vanity, of public opinion silenced, for in the chamber there is only truth, and truth speaks in whispers you can only hear when everything else is still. I have seen powerful men crumble because they acted without clarity. They mistook urgency for direction, pressure for purpose. They reacted to life instead of commanding it. But I have also seen those who mastered this sacred state rise above chaos like a general surveying the battlefield from the highest hill. While others panicked, they saw patterns. While others guessed, they knew. Entering the chamber of clarity is not a luxury. It is a necessity. It is the difference between decisions made in haste and decisions made with the precision of destiny. It is where you see the game before you make the move, where you recognize that not every battle is worth fighting and not every prize is worth winning. But the chamber will not open to the untrained. To enter, you must strip away the world. No devices, no voices, no flood of opinions disguised as facts. You must become still, not just outwardly, but inwardly. The body may be motionless, yet the mind races. In the chamber, both must be tamed. The first time you enter, you will hear the noise you have been carrying all your life, echoes of failures, doubts, and the restless chatter of the crowd. Let them pass, let them fade. Only then will you begin to hear the voice that matters, your own, unshaken, uncorrupted, unafraid. And here is the great secret. When you learn to dwell in this chamber, you carry it with you everywhere. You can stand in the midst of crisis and remain unmoved. You can face the loudest critics and remain unbroken. You can make the most dangerous decisions with the calm of a man pouring a glass of water. In clarity, fear loses its grip. The fog clears, revealing the path as if it had been waiting for you all along. Your moves become fewer, but each one lands with greater force. You stop scattering your energy across 100 meaningless battles and direct it toward the single war that matters. This is where big moves are conceived with absolute certainty. This is where fortunes are plotted, alliances are forged, and legacies are designed. The chamber of clarity is not a retreat from life. It is the command center from which life is mastered. If today you feel pulled in 100 directions, if the noise is too loud, the choices too many, the doubts too heavy, I urge you, step into the chamber. Close the door on the world, if only for an hour. Let the silence strip you of confusion. Let truth sharpen you like a blade. For when you emerge, you will not just be ready to act, you will be certain. And certainty, my friend, is the rarest currency in a world drowning in hesitation. The chamber of clarity is always there. The question is, will you enter? There is a dangerous illusion that seduces even the most intelligent minds, the belief that they must decide alone. They mistake isolation for independence, solitary thinking for strength. And so, when the hour of great decision arrives, they close the doors of their mind, sealing themselves inside with nothing but their own limited perspective. But I tell you this, no elite mind decides in isolation. The wisest among us understand that the human viewpoint is narrow, clouded by bias, scarred by experience, and blind to what it has never known. Alone you will see part of the path, but never all of it. Alone you will feel certain until the unseen destroys your plan. Napoleon Hill spoke of a strange and powerful ritual, one I have practiced and seen practiced by the greatest achievers in history. He called it the Council of Wisdom. It is not a committee you hire. It is not a meeting you schedule in a boardroom. It is a gathering that takes place within the private walls of your imagination. In this council, you summon the minds of great thinkers, visionaries, and leaders, living or dead. You call upon their presence, not in superstition, but in deliberate mental discipline. You imagine them seated around a great table, each waiting for your question, each ready to offer the distilled wisdom of their life's experience. Think of it. When you sit in this council, you are no longer limited to your own mind. You have access to the judgment of Lincoln in times of crisis, the strategic clarity of Napoleon in war, the creative vision of Edison in innovation, the spiritual depth of Gandhi in moral challenge. They are not ghosts. They are the echoes of the greatest thinking humanity has ever produced, made alive in your imagination. And yet this is not mere fantasy. It is a sharpening of perception. For when you study a person deeply, their words, their choices, their principles, you absorb their patterns of thought. In your mind, they become real advisors, capable of showing you angles you would have otherwise missed. Before I adopted the counsel, my decisions bore the marks of haste, of ego, of narrow vision. I acted on what I thought I knew, and suffered for what I didn't. But once I began to call my counsel, something remarkable happened. My decisions slowed. They deepened. I began to see not just the next step, but the steps beyond. I began to anticipate the storms before they arrived. There is no arrogance in calling for counsel, only wisdom. The fool believes his mind is enough. The wise know that one mind, multiplied by many perspectives, becomes something far greater than the sum of its parts. The counsel is a shield against blind spots. It is a compass when the path is hidden. You may say, "But I have no access to the great minds of history." You do. Their books, their speeches, their recorded words, these are their minds preserved in time. Read them until you can hear their voices in your imagination. Study them until you know how they would respond if they sat across from you. Then, when the hour of decision comes, invite them to speak. In my own counsel, I have called upon those who mastered wealth, those who mastered influence, those who mastered self-control. And when I have been tempted by greed, one of them reminds me of integrity. When I have been paralyzed by caution, another reminds me of boldness. When I have been clouded by emotion, yet another reminds me of clarity. This ritual will not replace your own judgment. It will refine it. For in the end, you alone must decide. But you will decide with the weight of many lifetimes of wisdom behind you, rather than the narrow limits of one. And here is the greatest gift of the counsel. The more you practice it, the more you become it. The qualities you seek in others begin to awaken within yourself. In time, you will notice that the voices you once imagined now live in your own thinking. Their wisdom becomes your wisdom. Their courage becomes your courage. Their discipline becomes your discipline. Call the counsel before every major choice. Seek their counsel when your path is unclear. And when it is clear, seek them still, for clarity can be the most dangerous illusion of all. You will discover what every elite achiever has learned, that no great destiny is shaped by a single mind in isolation. The mind must be multiplied, magnified, and enriched by the best that has come before it. When you step into that chamber of decision, do not go alone. Call the counsel, listen well, and then decide like a man who carries the wisdom of centuries in his hand. There is a deception more dangerous than failure. It is not the sudden collapse of a plan. It is not the public humiliation of defeat. It is the seduction of a path that appears to lead toward your destiny, yet carries you silently away from it. The world does not always confront you with obvious obstacles. Often it comes dressed as opportunity. It will bring you offers wrapped in gold and applause. It will whisper, "This is your chance," and if you have not anchored yourself to a definite purpose, you will take the bait, and only years later realize you were led astray. Napoleon Hill warned that no vision is worth pursuing unless it serves your definite purpose. This is not a suggestion. It is a law of achievement, and the achiever who ignores it will scatter his energy, divide his focus, and dilute his power. Purpose is the root. Vision is the branch. Without the root, the branch dies. I have witnessed men and women of extraordinary talent collapse under the weight of too many visions that were not anchored to purpose. They built empires on shifting sand, chasing one promising path after another, each seeming urgent, each offering rewards, only to find themselves exhausted, surrounded by half-built towers, and unsure of which one was ever worth building in the first place. Understand this. Not every good opportunity is your opportunity. The question is never, can this succeed? The question is, does this move me closer to the one thing I was born to accomplish? When you live by purpose, you gain the courage to refuse. You will say no to deals that look perfect. You will turn down invitations that flatter your ego. You will walk away from partnerships that could make you rich if they would make you stray. This discipline will not be easy. The crowd will not understand you. They will shake their heads and call you stubborn. They will say, you could have had everything, but you will know what they do not, that 1,000 victories off purpose are still a total defeat. Before you commit to any vision, retreat into the inner chamber of clarity. Strip the idea of all glamour. Remove the promises of quick profit. Silence the noise of urgency. Hold it in the light of your definite purpose, and ask, does this deepen my mastery of the work I have chosen? Does this build the foundation of the life I have sworn to create? Does this bring me closer to my North Star, or does it pull me, even slightly, in another direction? A 1-degree drift may feel harmless today, but left uncorrected, it will lead you hundreds of miles from your destiny tomorrow. Many people wake up in midlife with wealth, status, and recognition, and yet they are strangers to their own purpose. That is the tragedy of vision without alignment. But there is another path. When you measure every move against your purpose, something extraordinary happens. Your life gathers force. Each step builds upon the last. The scattered energies that once pulled you apart now converge into a single, unshakable current. Your time becomes precious, your focus razor sharp, and you begin to move, not with haste, but with inevitability. Do not misunderstand. This is not about saying no to everything. It is about saying yes with the full weight of your being, but only when the vision passes the test. The wrong vision, no matter how profitable, will drain your life. The right vision, even if it demands sacrifice, will multiply your life. This is why I tell you, beware the glitter. Many chase the shimmer of opportunity and never see that it blinds them to the gold hidden within their true purpose. Reject what does not serve the mission, even if it tempts you with everything the world calls success. For in the end, the costliest mistake is not chasing something and failing. The costliest mistake is chasing something and succeeding, only to realize you were running the wrong race. So I leave you with this unshakable law. Every vision must be tested against your purpose before it is allowed to take root in your life. If it aligns, move forward with total conviction. If it does not, cut it away quickly, for every moment spent on a false path is stolen from the one path that could have made you great. Every choice is a seed, and every seed carries within it a forest, whether of prosperity or ruin. The tragedy is that most plant without ever imagining the forest it will one day become. The average man looks only at the next step. He asks, will this work today? Will this profit me tomorrow? He fails to see that today's step sets the slope of the mountain he will be climbing for years. But the elite, those who command their destiny, do not simply act. They project. They run the path of consequences forward in their mind, stretching their vision far beyond the moment. They do not merely ask, what will this give me now? They demand, where will this carry me in 5 years, 10 years? What invisible doors will it open and which will it close forever? Napoleon Hill said that wisdom is the ability to see the chain reaction before the first link is touched. This is not mere imagination. It is a disciplined art. The elite rehearse their decisions not just in the present, but in the theater of time. They picture the ripple effect in business, in relationships, in health, in reputation, in spirit. Every gain has a cost. Every victory casts a shadow. If you do not weigh both, you are gambling with your own future. I have seen men intoxicated by a single opportunity, blind to the toll it would take on their freedom, their family, their energy. They won the first battle with brilliance, but in their haste, they had already sown the seeds of defeat in the wars to come. Do not be deceived by the brightness of the immediate prize. If it blinds you to the long horizon, it is a thief. Ask yourself, will the man I become in 5 years thank me for this choice? Or will he curse my name? Run the path of consequences like a commander scanning the battlefield. Stand on the hill of foresight. Watch the dominoes fall in your mind. See where they stop and whether that place is one you would willingly inhabit. You must walk this path for both success and failure. Imagine the best possible outcome, and ask if you are prepared for the weight it will bring. For success has its burdens, as surely as failure does. New riches bring new demands. New power draws new enemies. Are you prepared for the trials your triumph will summon? Then imagine the worst possible outcome. Not to paralyze yourself, but to prepare yourself. Could you endure it? Could you recover from it? Could you convert even that loss into an advantage? If the answer is no, perhaps you have not yet counted the true cost. The mind disciplined in this way becomes like a lens of pure crystal. Illusions dissolve. Enthusiasm is tempered with reason. Fear is tempered with foresight. You begin to see decisions as entire lifelines, not isolated events. Many stumble because they treat decisions like doors they can close at will. But some doors once opened cannot be shut. Some roads once taken will not let you turn back. The man who does not run the path of consequences walks into these traps with a smile and only later learns the weight of the chain now locked around his ankle. To master this law, you must slow the pulse of urgency. Refuse to be driven by the noise of the crowd. The world will tell you that you must decide now, that opportunity waits for no one. But the man who commands his destiny knows that no decision made in haste can bear the scrutiny of 5 years of consequence. When you run the path of consequences fully, something changes in your spirit. You no longer move like a desperate seeker of fortune, snatching at every glimmer. You move like an architect of inevitability, setting each stone with deliberate hands, knowing it will hold the weight of years. Remember this: a single step taken without foresight can undo 10 years of progress, but a single step taken with vision can create 10 years of compounded advantage. The difference is not in the step, it is in the sight. So before you act, run the path. Walk it in your mind to its furthest edge. Feel its victories, endure its losses, weigh its burden. And when you find the path that aligns with your purpose, that serves your vision, and that strengthens you even in its trials, then and only then, take it with unshakable conviction, for the man who acts with foresight is never surprised by his future. He has already walked it in the quiet chambers of his mind. There is a man or woman you are destined to become, a greater version of yourself, wiser, stronger, unshakable. They already exist in the realm of thought, waiting for you to step into their skin. Most people make decisions from the smallness of who they are now. They measure choices by the comfort of today's self, forgetting that today's self is not equipped for tomorrow's victory. They ask, "What do I want in this moment?" when they should be asking, "What would my future self demand of me?" The elite do not operate from the poverty of the present. They act from the abundance of the future. They adopt the posture, the discipline, the mindset of the person they are becoming, and they do it now. Napoleon Hill knew this truth. The surest path to a great future is to act as though it already belongs to you. To walk into the room, into the negotiation, into the decision, as if you are already crowned with the success you seek. This is not arrogance, it is alignment. Picture your future self in perfect detail, not in vague fantasy, but in sharp, unshakable clarity. See how they rise in the morning, hear the tone of their voice when they speak. Feel the power of their presence, witness the discipline with which they guard their time and energy. That image is your blueprint. When the fork in the road appears, you consult that self, not the one staring at you in the mirror today. You ask, would the man I am becoming take this path? Would the woman I envision entertain this distraction? If the answer is no, you turn away, no matter how sweet the temptation. The ordinary man compromises because the reward of the future feels distant. The elite guard it as if it were in their hands this very second. They refuse the short-term indulgence because it tastes like poison to the future self. This alignment is not without cost. It will demand sacrifices the present you will resist. Early mornings, difficult conversations, the courage to walk alone. But every act of alignment is a deposit in the account of your destiny, and interest compounds quickly for those who stay the course. There will be moments when the world doubts you, when the evidence of success has not yet appeared. They will call you unrealistic. They will mistake your certainty for delusion. Let them, for you know what they do not, that the future bends to the will of the man who lives as though it is already his. You must learn to inhabit that future self so fully that your present life begins to rearrange itself in obedience. Opportunities will recognize you before you recognize them. Doors will open because you now look like the one who belongs inside. People will speak your name in rooms you have not yet entered because the energy you carry has already entered ahead of you. But beware, alignment is not costume. It is not the shallow mimicry of habits for appearance's sake. It is an inner transformation, a shifting of thought, a reordering of values. If the roots do not change, the fruit will rot before it ripens. Each day, ask yourself, what would my future self thank me for today? Then do it without delay. In doing so, you become a man or woman who moves not in hope, but in certainty. Not in wishful thinking, but in inevitable becoming. For the greatest secret is this: you cannot outrun the person you are becoming. So choose them wisely. Align with them daily. And when you meet them in the flesh, you will not be surprised, for you have been walking together all along. The mind is never more dangerous than when it is ruled by ungoverned emotion. Fear will shrink your vision. Excitement will distort it. And in both states, your judgment will betray you. The average man makes his choices in the heat of reaction. He strikes when afraid, grasps when eager, retreats when intimidated. He believes he is deciding freely, but in truth he is a puppet, his strings pulled by the rise and fall of feeling. The elite know better. They understand that emotion, while a force for creation, is a poison to decision-making. They invoke the law of emotional neutrality, the discipline of stripping fear and excitement from the moment until nothing remains but the quiet, balanced weight of truth. Napoleon Hill taught that the highest form of self-mastery is the ability to think clearly when the world within and around you is shaking. This is no simple art. It demands that you stand between the extremes of emotion, unclaimed by either, as a commander stands in the center of the battlefield, hearing the cries, feeling the chaos, but never surrendering his vantage point. When fear grips you, your mind sees only danger. It magnifies threats, hides opportunities, and whispers that retreat is safety. When excitement takes hold, your mind sees only reward. It blinds you to risk, deafens you to warning, and convinces you that the wave will carry you forever. In both cases, you are blind. In both cases, you are unfit to decide. The elite wait. They let the waves crash and pass. They breathe until the pulse steadies, until their inner waters become still. Then, and only then, do they choose. I have watched men ruin themselves because they confused adrenaline for clarity. They signed contracts in the rush of victory. They declared war in the sting of insult. They took on debt in the fever of opportunity. In every case, the emotion passed and left them chained to the consequences of a decision made in blindness. To invoke the law of emotional neutrality, you must master the pause. The pause is your fortress. It is the chamber where emotion burns itself out and reason sharpens its blade. It may be an hour, it may be a day, it may be longer, but in that pause you refuse to act until the noise within is silent. This is not the death of passion, it is the harnessing of passion. Once the decision is made in neutrality, the full force of emotion can be brought back to drive its execution. But in the moment of choice, emotion is a counsel to be heard, not a master to be obeyed. You must also train yourself to detect subtle emotion, the quiet bias that tilts you toward comfort, the hidden pride that resists correction. These too can cloud judgment. You strip them away by asking ruthless questions. If I were not afraid, would I choose differently? If I were not eager, would I still take this path? The one who decides in emotional neutrality is rare. He is not swayed by panic in the marketplace or euphoria in the crowd. He is steady in the storm and still in the sunlight. Because of this, his choices compound in strength. His failures are few, his victories deliberate. The ordinary will call him cold. They will not understand the warmth of a man whose fire is directed, not scattered. But the elite know emotional neutrality is not the absence of feeling, it is the mastery of it. When you can stand at the crossroads, hear the roar of temptation and the whisper of fear, and still choose as if neither existed, then you have attained a level of power that cannot be shaken. For the man who rules his emotion rules his fate. Once you have reached clarity, your work is not yet complete. For the moment of knowing is still fragile, and the winds of opinion will seek to scatter it. The untrained mind believes that once it has decided, the victory is won. And so it announces its choice to the world, to friends, to family, to strangers. It leaks its decision into the air before it has even taken the first step. And what follows? The opinions of others flood in, doubt is sown, distraction creeps close, momentum fades. But the masters understand a higher law, that a decision is like a flame in its infancy. In the beginning, it burns small. It needs stillness, shelter, and silence to grow into a fire that no wind can extinguish. Sealing the decision in silence is not secrecy for secrecy's sake. It is the deliberate act of allowing your choice to settle into the deepest chambers of your will before exposing it to the noise of the world. When you decide and then speak too soon, you invite the thoughts of others into the sacred place where your conviction is still forming, and their words, whether praise or criticism, can bend the steel before it is forged. Napoleon Hill once said that opinions are the cheapest commodity on earth. They cost the giver nothing, yet they can rob the receiver of everything. When your decision is fresh, the most dangerous thing you can do is place it in the marketplace of opinion. The elite do not seek validation before they act. They do not test their choice against the applause of others. Instead, they sit with it in silence. They carry it quietly, like a warrior carrying the secret knowledge of battle before the day of war. This silence is not passive. It is active preparation. It is a gestation period where the mind aligns itself entirely with the decision, until no argument, no doubt, no temptation can pry it loose. In this space, you rehearse the execution in your mind. You foresee the obstacles, you absorb the cost, you feel the victory, and by the time you step into action, the choice is no longer a possibility. It is a certainty. I have seen men undone because they mistook excitement for readiness. They declared their plans in a burst of emotion, basked in the praise, and then found their energy spent before the work had even begun. This is why the wise withhold. They resist the hunger for acknowledgement, knowing that true strength grows in the shadows, not the spotlight. Silence also protects you from the most dangerous thief of all, your own changing mind. For in silence you give yourself no opportunity to weaken your resolve through idle conversation. You remove the temptation to explain yourself, to justify yourself, to soften your commitment with words. You keep the decision pure, untouched, untested until the day you move. And when that day comes, you act swiftly. There is no hesitation, no wavering. The choice has been sealed long enough that it has fused into your identity. You no longer intend to do it, you are already the person who does it. This is why execution becomes unstoppable. Think of the seed planted in the earth. It does not announce itself while it is breaking open beneath the soil. It works in stillness, invisible to all. But in time, the root grips deep, the shoot rises strong, and no force can reverse it. So it is with a decision sealed in silence. The world teaches you to speak before you act, to declare before you begin, to seek permission before you commit. But greatness belongs to those who reverse this order. Act first, speak after. Let the results be your announcement. Some will call you mysterious. Some will say you move without warning. But the truth is this: you have learned to protect your conviction from the noise that destroys lesser men. This is the way of the elite. This is the way of unshakable execution. You seal the decision in silence, not because you fear the world will stop you, but because you will not allow anything to dilute the purity of your resolve. And so I tell you, the next time you reach clarity, do not rush to proclaim it. Carry it in your heart like a sacred fire. Let it grow in the darkness until it can withstand the light. Then, when the moment is right, unleash it upon the world with the force of inevitability. For the man who can decide, seal, and execute without interference is the man whose will commands reality itself. There comes a moment when hesitation must die and the bridge to the past must be burned, not by accident, not in confusion, but in absolute certainty. For the average man, decisions are made with an escape hatch in sight. He keeps one foot in the old world, one foot in the new, and when the winds of difficulty blow, he retreats, telling himself he will try again someday. That someday never comes, but the great ones, the masters, understand the ancient law. When you remove the option of turning back, you awaken the hidden powers of the mind. The moment the retreat is gone, the moment the way home is cut off, every cell, every thought, every ounce of strength aligns toward victory. History remembers Hernan Cortés, who upon reaching the shores of the New World, ordered his men to burn the ships. There would be no return to Spain, victory or death. That was the bargain, and with no path back, they fought with the desperation of men whose lives depended on it, and they won. This is the kind of commitment that turns ordinary moves into unstoppable conquests. It is the kind of commitment Napoleon Hill wrote about when he said that indecision is the thief of opportunity. Half-hearted action produces half-hearted results. But when your action is total, your reward becomes inevitable. Irreversible commitment transforms the mind. It strips away the waste of doubt. It silences the debate of should I or shouldn't I. There is only I must, and when I must takes root in the soul, it becomes a force no man or circumstance can oppose. Yet, this level of commitment terrifies the untrained. They fear the loss of safety, of fallback plans, of comfort. They cling to the shore while dreaming of crossing the ocean. They speak of destiny while clutching the rope that binds them to the dock. You must choose differently. You must understand that the mind, when cornered into necessity, will find resources it never knew it had. When you act with the knowledge that there is no way back, you begin to see possibility invisible to the half-committed. You think sharper, you move faster, you resist longer. Irreversible commitment is not reckless gambling. It is not blind faith without preparation. It is the culmination of your planning, your vision, your testing, your alignment, and then, once the ground is solid beneath you, it is stepping forward with such finality that there is no plan B. Plan B is survival, not success. Many of the failures I have seen were not the result of a bad idea, but of a weak commitment. Men allowed themselves to believe they could always return to comfort, and so when the storm came, they took the easy exit. The dream died not because it was impossible, but because they had left the back door open. When you commit irreversibly, you speak a command to your subconscious. There is no choice but to win, and the subconscious, ever obedient, begins to marshal every faculty to fulfill that command. It draws strength from your body, courage from your spirit, ingenuity from your mind. You become a weapon aimed at a single target. The great secret is this: the universe respects the man who leaves himself no escape. It bends in favor of the one who has burned his ships, who has sealed his fate, who has staked his entire being on the outcome. That kind of man is rare, and so the world moves for him. Do not mistake hesitation for wisdom. Do not confuse comfort for security. The safest place for a warrior is not in retreat, but in the charge. The safest place for the dreamer is not in endless preparation, but in decisive, irreversible action. And when you commit, do not speak of if, or try, or maybe. Speak only of when, and must, and it is done. Carry yourself as if the victory is already sealed, for in truth, your commitment has already purchased it. So I say to you, make your decision, seal it in silence, and when the moment comes, step forward and burn the bridge behind you. Burn it so completely that even in your darkest hour, there is no temptation to turn around. Let your only way be forward. Let your only option be victory. For the man who acts with irreversible commitment does not merely pursue his destiny. He commands it, and destiny, when commanded, obeys.